being a Liverpool supporter means that I read and watch a lot of fan compiled content. And on one such occasion, I came across an article that was written back in April 2018, which used the analogy of the Queen song, Don't Stop Me Now, to articulate Liverpool's ascent in the Champions League, using the vehicle of how a mindset of positivity serves us well in life, i.e. enjoying life, not just enduring it. It was a brilliantly crafted piece, and I loved the happiness, the hope and the positivity that emanated from it. Alongside that, there was a more recent article written about our Champions League semi-final win against Barcelona, which was very fresh in the memory, which encapsulated what being a football supporter is all about. That led me to ultimately searching for my coach online. At that point, I didn't even know he was a coach. So what happened is, after the articles that I'd read, I didn't really see the author put much back up for a few months after. And I thought, well, okay, where's he gone? So I Googled his name out of curiosity. And the first result that came up was his LinkedIn profile. And it said he was a problem solver / life coach. So I thought, oh, I thought he was just a football writer. So I clicked on his LinkedIn profile, and on it was a link to his website, which contained his backstory, where it explained he was in his mid-30s, like I was at that point. Used to be a corporate solicitor, so was in that kind of corporate background. Had his own firm, was married, had the big posh wedding, posh house, great holidays. So on the face of it, it looked like, okay, he sorted himself out in life. But he said he felt empty, depressed, suicidal, had a lot of emotion swings, but he couldn't put the two together. On one hand, he had everything he thought he wanted in life, his marriage status, his job, his wealth, but on the other hand, he's got all these emotions going on. So he thought, well, hang on, I did everything I was meant to do and was told to do from when I was a little boy up to now, yet with all that success, I feel all these emotions that I've got the understanding that they're not acceptable and I shouldn't be feeling them. So essentially he started again to go, right, I'm not going to be able to continue with this for much longer. So he sold his business, he got divorced, and this is not like instant overnight thing, by the way. This is his gradual, right, I'm going to do something about this, and this is a steady change for him. So he essentially started again to explore all manner of methods and ways and places to improve upon himself, upon his life. And he got to the point where he said, I managed to address a lot of challenges, etc., and patterns and thinking in my life, and I'd like to share the experiences and help other people with their same journey as well. And at the end of it, he offered a free 1 hour chat on Zoom to talk more about the potential of working together. So I thought, well, do you know what? Let me give this a go. I didn't have any particular burning issue, and indeed, when I was on the call with him, I said to him, look, I'm not coming with any goal or thing that I want, or I've got to fix this right away. I just want to find out what it is like to be a coach, as you are, because I feel I want to do something similar. And he looked at me on Zoom, to the camera, and said, okay, you're telling me you want to be a coach, but I don't believe you. Which made me go, why'd you say that? So he went on to explain that often when we say, I want this, we haven't thought about why. Why do we want this thing? It could be anything. It could be a career change, a weight loss thing, a partner search, an emotions management thing, whatever, anything. We haven't asked ourselves why. Is it an externally orientated choice? We're like, oh shit, I better do something because everybody else has got it, or everybody's telling me to do this, and this is what I should be doing, all this kind of thing. Or have you asked yourself, no, I've given this thought, this is my next natural step in my journey, I feel ready for it. I might not, think that this is the thing that I'm definitely going to go after. I might change my mind along the way, but this is the thing that with a relative degree of certainty and introspection is what I'm looking for at the moment. We've often missed out that bit. Now that answer intrigued me, and he went on to explain how he, works with people to basically get to grips with the idea that where we find ourselves in life comes down to the root cause of low self-worth, and that's what we look to repair together to then let us find our own ways forward and achieve results as a natural byproduct of the work that we do. And he offered me the work that he does in terms of like, this is how many weeks we would work together, this is what it would cost, have a think about it, let me know if you want to go further. So that was all mulling around in my head whilst this was going on. So as I said, this was August of 2020, so a few months into the pandemic. So as I said, that was mulling around in my mind for the next few months while the pandemic was rumbling on, and just concentrating on just doing the daily thing, getting through the work as best I can and stuff like that. So the time to take that leap of faith was around my 36th birthday in January of 2021, when I decided to take the offer of the help and the course up with my coach. It would be around 8 to 10 weeks of one-to-one coaching, which would be me working with my coach on his approach, and essentially me getting an idea of what getting coached would look like and getting some insight into how to become one if I wanted to be. Now, I'll come on to what we did and the effect of the coaching shortly. But at the end of our 8 weeks together, it rolled around to March of 2021. And it was beginning to loosen up in terms of the pandemic, in terms of people being able to go back into the office. And, we were just coming out of that period where it was just complete, lockdown and stuff like that. But the role of Credit Suisse had begun to take a turn for the worst. My project essentially was all but closed down, because I said, as we'd reached that impasse, it just fell down the list in terms of things that were important and needed to be looked at. Management, as I said, were getting stretched even more all over the place. So again, chats to them about further approvals or further things were just not happening, because they weren't around much, and of the time that they were in, they were always busy with something else to do and that kind of thing. And in all honesty, some of the new people they were bringing on board, I just didn't get on with them. Simple as that. Now, the reason I say that is, around the time management was speaking to everybody, especially temps, saying we're going to essentially ramp up the workload by kind of halting all other projects and stuff, because it was clear that getting through the day-to-day bread and butter stuff was proving difficult. Things were just not getting done. Standards were dropping through no one's fault, but just the whole machine could not keep up with itself. So it meant people were being pulled across all the kind of things they were doing at management level or contractor or employee or whomever it was on the day-to-day grind, basically. And for me, that meant just being chucked onto, or being chucked another market to be sort of co-responsible for. I have to say, the expansion of the role to look after another market, which I was familiar with from my time at Goldman's, was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my years of banking. And what I mean by that is it was a market completely broken in terms of logic, in terms of how things were meant to be sequenced together. The setup and the tech was god-awful. And the way that tasks were done versus the time involved in the day. So this particular market, which was Germany, basically their cutoff in the morning is 11:30, which is the most important deadline in terms of getting your most important trade executions through, without going into the whole long ass detail. In comparison, when I was working on Swiss equities, their cutoff would be 2 p.m. So you got a lot longer in the day to work with stuff. And again, without going into technicalities, you had essentially up to 8 p.m. in the day, UK time, to get really urgent things done if you needed that time. But with Germany, there was no window for that. It was 11:30 and done. But as I said, the structure, the process, the organisation, the logic was just completely on the floor. And it was backed up by the fact that before I took over that market, my friend, as I said, mentioned when I started at Credit Suisse, was also in the team. He had been managing the market, and he was moved on to something else. And before I took over, he went, mate, this is fucking awful. And if he was saying it, given all his experience and know-how, I was like, okay, this is going to be not great. And this was when I was feeling the pull of coaching become stronger. So I discussed with my folks to go, which path should I be looking to go on? Open thinking out loud, saying, should I set up my own like coaching practice and go into the whole world, or should I just struggle on in banking? And one of the big things was like I'd be going from a sure salary to something a lot more random in terms of income, but it's something that I'd probably enjoy a lot more, have that kudos of running your own business, and now begin to actually help people and not just make rich people richer than they should be in a whole massive machine that other people have a passion for, which I really didn't. So in May of 2021, I called time on my time at Credit Suisse and decided to launch my coaching business. So firstly, this involved getting 2 qualifications, which I thought would help me give some authenticity. One was in neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, which had intrigued me for a while, and also enabled me to get a NLP practitioner qualification. And I also did something called a master coaching diploma, which gave me more ways to help people, basically. The NLP one was really good. It built on my intrigue in the topic. It was really insightful and showed me those connections between theory and real life application, versus that master coaching diploma thing, which was not great at all, but that's where we are. So to be fair, all of that brings us to today. Here I am with Inner Peace Walker, the practice that has let me create a website, write and publish my first book, host 2 podcasts with another 2 on the way, go live all the time on multiple platforms, collaborate with like-minded, talented people. There'll be an online course that will be coming out soon, and the ultimate aim in the very near future will be to have a live event with people, which all would not have been possible if I was still dicking around in investment banking. So in terms of my time with my coach and what it did for me, the time with Paul, that's my coach's name, was a uniquely different approach, yet it felt familiar at the same time, because it had a sense of being repeatable to other people, and it wasn't just a one-off exercise thing that you just do and you'd forget about it. It would end up generating profound results for me. It wasn't rocket science, but it was placed and offered in such a way that it was new, hence that whole appears new but familiar at the same time thing. And in our time together, we ended up working in a few different areas. We went through my social awareness, accepting and working on my naturally introverted behaviors and traits in friendships and family. We spoke about my singledom, which is a big topic for me that we spent a fair bit of time on, in particular how my sort of relationship history links to my self-worth. In particular, on that, we sort of reconciled why I chased validation from potential partners by kind of showcasing what I could do for them, being like kind of a court jester type thing, things like where, I would do things above and beyond, the Call of Duty or their request to kind of make me look good in their eyes, it's something that I would dwell on for ages if things didn't work out in that manner. And we also spoke about how I felt that the current environment of like dating apps and matchmaking and all that stuff, felt like a trial where I'd constantly be in the dock for not making progress in finding a partner ultimately. We also spoke about what supporting Liverpool and England in the cricket actually meant for me beyond just the team's results and performances. And the big thing we did was went and meeting my shadow. What's in it? Why is it in there? Not looking to destroy it or get rid of it, but understanding that integral part of us. And at the end of it, Paul said to me, I've shown you everything I know. There's no reason why you can't go out and show others the same kind of thing. So when it comes to me sharing with what I do with people through conversation, the question that seems to crop up a lot, regardless of what they've heard, how they resonate with it, what they think about it, all that kind of stuff, is, yeah, but are you making any money? Which has always been an intriguing one for me. Now, I'm not a millionaire from this. I'm not rolling in it. But if I wasn't making the money that I think I should be getting or want to be getting, there are a lot of people in the space that can help me with that and have helped me with that. That's on me to take that responsibility and the opportunity. What people forget is that I'm not just in this for the money. It's important, but I also get to do more of what appeals to me. That is indulging in my creativity through things like my studio, my book writing, my podcasting. I get to help people, I get to use my imagination, and I get to collaborate with some really talented, brilliant people on a wide range of events, ideas, and things that we can do to push our businesses further and have some fun in the process. And on top of that, when I get asked, where do you think you'd be now if you stayed around in banking? Do you know what? I genuinely can't tell. Although the rate of turnover that still seems to be happening across the board, whether it's contracting or perm employee or whatever, chances are I would still be kind of moving around like musical chairs between companies, between areas, and what I used to be a subject matter expert in feels like it's in short supply in terms of banks and places that still do that kind of work, because the functions of themselves closed down through either legal changes or structural changes or just industry-wide changes. All those processes and roles have been migrated to other regions. So basically, the stuff I used to do isn't really around anymore. So as I sit here today, I don't live in a state of having fixed every problem or challenge in my life, which again is the fallacy that people seem to fall for, where if you just do the work once, whether it's with a coach or a therapist or a counselor or whomever you choose to work with, that's your fix. That's what that's all you'll need. One time working in solution, and that's it. But for me, in truth, I've just opened the door to my own possibilities, as opposed to just being on that fixed train track of life that I used to be on. So, I mentioned before, it was exams, degree, job, marriage, kids, family, career, retirement, last stop, death. Now, I'm not saying I'm a rebel or I'm unique or I'm better or I'm special, but I'm opening my own possibilities to go, okay, that's not the only track. There's sub-tracks, sub-places that I can go on to and forge my own path in that way. But all that involves always being a student, still making mistakes, but not living by them or putting myself on trial for them when they do happen. Looking beyond the symptom that's going on to the root cause without just over-analysing or overthinking things. I'm getting better at pausing and asking myself questions, especially if I feel my self-worth is getting impinged. I still fuck up there every now and then, but I process emotions as they happen, whatever that is, rather than storing it, which I'm getting better at. Taking my own responsibility on matters rather than just hanging my self-worth on anyone or thing else. And that constant checking in with myself as to how things are going. And as I mentioned before, one of the things that struck me with working with Paul was how repeatable the work is. Not just to me, but to other people. Because a lot of the language and terminology and expressions and stories and anecdotes we use were simple, they were straightforward, and they weren't shrouded in, long ass complicated terms. And don't get me wrong, I like a bit of detail and, fancy terms here and there, but the way we can get this kind of stuff more accessible to people is just talking about it in real terms, not just ensconced in theory or that kind of high level stuff, but getting that relatability across to people with stories, with examples, with anecdotes to make that more human, if you will. This isn't some, fancy secret that's only reserved for a few. It's in front of us, really. And that's one of the things that I remark as well, that our answers are hidden in plain sight. And to find them, they're essentially in our shadow, which is not easy. It's a difficult thing to do. We're going to feel a lot of resistance, like, no, I don't want to go down there, or I can't be asked to go down there, or I'll do that another day, and that kind of thing. But when we can work with our shadow, meet with it, integrate it into us as a part of us, then we begin to increase and raise our self-worth naturally by ourselves. And that was a different message that I'd experienced then, compared to the ones I'd previously seen or used in, which is to just engage in toxic positivity, namely to keep repeating positive affirmations endlessly, ignore and suppress what you naturally feel, and think that you're like a warrior or a lion or something else that's fancy like that. It also gave the idea that you can start this work from anywhere in life. There are some that will say you need to fulfill a certain level of niching or criteria and this kind of thing, and I'm not here to say that's right or wrong, but for me this is to say whatever's going on in your life, we can work together to root it down to low self-worth, no matter what the affliction is. And again, this is not to say by doing that and exploring the idea of low self-worth that you've got it wrong or you should be ashamed of doing that and you've fucked up or whatever. We're all in that position. It's just only a few people raise their hand to go, do you know what? I actually want to look for some ways forward for me. And with all this put together, the opinion I've currently got is that I want to help people open up their own possibilities in the same way that I did, so that they can realise that they don't have to stick to just the one path or pattern. And I'm not saying by this, by the way, to drop all responsibilities and throw your life around and this kind of thing, but it's to open up the idea that the thing you think you're stuck on and that's it, there's different ways forward that we can find for you, and not just think that, right, I'm stuck on this forever and I can't do anything because of X, Y, Z, and that's what everybody else is doing, so therefore they must be right, true. There are ways forward that we perhaps haven't uncovered for you yet. I feel lucky to have experienced being coached in the way I have. I often remark to people, if I went out looking for a coach, I couldn't have probably found a better one that fitted me than Paul. Because of, as I said, the uniqueness of the approach and the relatability that I've spoken about, and without revisiting those parts that are in my shadow, I wouldn't have broken through to the life that I've now got going on. And as I look around me, I feel that a little bit for those that have never quite, asked themselves the question, or, just end up living their life carrying these issues that have stemmed from their programming experiences or their background that keep them stuck in that kind of, we use phrases like the rat race and the thing and just life going on. And again, I'm not saying that I'm better than these people. I'm not saying this is the way out for every single person watching this and that I'm better or anything like that. Absolutely not at all. But there is space for us to give a little bit more thought about ourselves, what's going on, what's our journey. If we are feeling these kind of emotions and feel stuck or something's not quite right here, we don't just have to ignore it and suppress it and just soldier on all the time, because it will fucking exhaust us. It will burn us out, and we'll feel that. We'll feel burnt out. We feel fucked. We feel stressed. We feel all these things. But like, nope, I've got to soldier on for, my kids, my family, my parents, whomever. Or that it's just all I know, and that's all I just got to do because I can't have time or energy or whatever to understand this all and that kind of thing. But when you take a moment to do that for yourself, and just go, okay, what could actually be going on here? You have the possibilities, as I did, to open up your own path to your own inner peace. And that's how I sort of feel now. I feel renewed in my capacity to see my own way forward. And sometimes it is a bit hazy, don't get me wrong. I still go back into old habits, old patterns, and go, fucking hell, what the hell is going on here? Even after doing this work for a little while on myself now, at times I just bring myself back to the idea of, okay, sometimes, to be honest, I can just not get onto that treadmill of worrying about shit that's got nothing to do with me. And it's still hard not to, because, you know, these patterns won't just disappear overnight. It is that constant practice of, okay, there are certain things sometimes that you don't have any responsibility or control over, and that's okay. I used to believe that I was in a prison, trapped in my own making, especially in my career when it started to not go the way I wanted to. But sort of having taken back all the stories and looked at actually what's going on, and indeed sharing all this today, you know, in this series of videos, I realised that, to be honest, it was never a prison. You know, because to be honest, it's not possible to trap ourselves in the prison that we built. Because by definition, a prison is something that you lock from the outside. And if we feel like we're locked, well, then someone else or something else has locked us in. Because if we lock ourselves inside a cage that we've got the key to, because you wouldn't have been able to lock the thing in the first place, then if we've locked ourselves in, we can open ourselves out. So in that regard, it's not a prison, it's a fort. And we build a fort to protect us from a world that we perceive is fearful, is uncertain, is difficult. And we get these expressions all through our lives, right? When we leave even like nursery to primary, oh shit, that's a big whole change. Primary to secondary school, that's a big change into the new world. University to job, everybody says, oh, welcome to the big bad world now, as if like the first 18 to 21 years is like, that's just like a dress rehearsal. Now here's the real tough dark shit that we're all in, and that's it, that's all you're presented with. Good luck, off you go, and just give it your best go. So the lessons that I learned through this space and continue to learn have allowed me to still have that fort if I need to retreat to it, but I can unlock the door and take my way out of the fort if I need to. So thank you for listening to all I had to say about how my life has been up to this point in certain areas, leading to coaching and where I am right now as the mindset transformer with Inner Peace Walker. I put the series together to give people that human side and insight into where I came from to lead me into this space. This wasn't a magic thing that happened overnight or something that, as I said, I always wanted to do. It's just through my experience in life led me onto this path that I can truly call mine at the moment. It's not, you know, it's not without its tricky moments still, but it still feels something that I enjoy. And that's the thing that I always come back to and ask myself, as long as I feel like I'm enjoying this and I'm adding value, it's definitely the right thing for me to do. So if any of this has resonated, or you've got any questions about it, anything you want to clarify, ask more about, feel free to. Always open for a conversation, especially if it means helping you on your own path forward. Let's converse is exactly what this space is all about. But wherever you are for now, at the moment, stay kind to yourself, feel supersonic, and I'll catch you soon.